Morning, everyone. I know they've only allocated 3 hours for me for this talk, so I'll try and condense it down to 30 minutes for you to cover that. For those who are following along in the app, there was a photo that Ed from Tech Time has posted because he and I were talking last year. He bailed me up in a bus queue at Summit, so that's a mistake I won't do twice. And we were talking about what Atlassian security could do for ecosystem partners. And we're talking about Atlassian verified and everything. So there is a photo in the app, and I recommend you go and have a look at it. And just to let you know, when you look at the photo, I actually do now have the stamp that says known to Atlassian security. And as a security guy, having a stamp to do things so I can rubber stamp stuff strikes me as a really good plan. I'm very excited, so thank you to Ed for that. I'm going to talk about a couple of things today. And this is not going to really be a technical talk. I want to talk about the business of running cloud add-ons. And I want to talk about the experience that we've gone through at Atlassian as we've moved into this world and what I've learnt from being in the industry for a little while. So a couple of things that I want to cover off today. I really want to talk about what's been happening inside Atlassian and how you can take what we've done and build on it for yourselves. Just a quick survey in the room. Who's developing Connect plugins now? Awesome. Really good. So inside Atlassian, we've had to go through this transition itself. I've been with Atlassian coming up to about 3 years now. Prior to being at Atlassian, I was the Chief Security Officer for a medical device company. So of course it's a very natural transition to go from healthcare to working in a software company. But I did have to deal with regulatory bodies, and one of the great things about when I came to Atlassian is I thought, fantastic, I can finally get rid of the magic checklist that I had to do everything by. And it's really important to have that mindset. But we've got a couple of ground rules that we do for inside Atlassian. First thing, hopefully this is obvious to you, developers own all the code. Build it, run it, support it, all those things. In the security group, we don't own it. We work very closely with the development teams to ensure that the code we're shipping is good value and it meets the goals of the organisation. We're actually split into two major functions inside security. One of them is security engineering, which is the team that looks deeply into the products, and I'll talk about them. And the other team is the security intelligence team, who do our monitoring and looking at what's going on in the world, and I'll give you a little bit more colour about those. Of course, you know that code ships every day, multiple times a day. I saw in the keynote where Shri did put the call out to us for changing our deploy time from 24 hours to 24 minutes. I'm sure the team that was in the room at that time went, awesome, that should be good. But we really want to keep that going. But the most important difference that we have at Atlassian compared to many other organisations is code ships without a single sign-off from me. There's no tollgate, there's no checkpoint, we get it done. And the way that we do that is kind of our secret sauce. What we do is similar to our quality assistance story in that we work very closely with the development teams from the very beginning. We're looking at how we can help our developers to be better. I will cheat and admit that an Atlassian developer already has a strong value that they want to be doing the right thing. So it makes my life a little bit easier. So what I see as a security person is wonderful opportunities to shape how we could do things inside Atlassian. A little while ago, the security group, we had to think about what do we really stand for. And we had all these mottos, we find the 0 days, when in doubt, someone else must have made a mistake. And we tried to think of ways that represented what we meant to the organisation. So we've looked at it and we consider our primary driver to build trust with every team. Every team is inside Atlassian, but it's also our customers and our partners, such as yourselves. That takes a little bit of thinking to do around that because, let's face it, some security teams, I've heard allegations that some security teams aren't very cooperative in their companies. Does anybody have the security team where their favourite word seems to be, no, we can't do that? I'm sure if you are one of those security people and you're in the room, Feel free to purge yourself now, confess to your sins, and we'll take you on a journey to do something new. So when we think about it, we thought, all right, so how are we going to do this? How are we going to achieve building trust with every team? So we thought about, all right, we've got three major themes. The first thing we want to do is remove barriers. And occasionally we're successful, and occasionally we're not as successful, where we kind of do things a little bit wrong, but we can iterate and come back to it. So the number one driver for us is what can we do to support development speed? What can we do to make it easier for customers to choose Atlassian solutions? What do we do to help our partners develop solutions and obtain guidance from us? That's all barriers to productivity. It's barriers to teams delivering on their mission. So that's where we want to emphasize a lot of our time. Transparency is everything to us. Security generally has a great reputation of security by obscurity. We can't tell you that, or then we're going to have to kill you. We don't want to talk about what we do, because then the bad guys will know what we do and they'll come after us. Anyone who's worked in security long enough knows that the bad guys already know how to come after you. The fact that you write something and put it out on the web isn't going to stop them. So we want to be as transparent as we can possibly be to help our customers make a great decision. We want to be transparent so inside Atlassian, the rest of the organisation knows where we're thinking, where we're going, and we want to be engaging with everyone to build that transparency. We've made a number of changes to make that happen. The last one, of course, is consistency. You wouldn't think we would have to call this out, but surprisingly in the security field, there's more than one opinion on how to do something right. So we've had to think about this and as a team agree on how we're going to work and what our positions are going to be on various things. And consistency is very key to having credibility when it comes to your security practices. So for you as vendors, your customers want to understand how you are removing barriers for them getting things done, how you are open and transparent about what's going on in your world, and how you're going to be consistent in delivering that experience to them. And that's what we've been working on to do. Our four major focus areas, and these are probably, hopefully some of these you look at these and go, oh yeah, that's what we should be doing. But it took us a while to actually write these down and figure it out. Secure by design. We want to have it just the done thing. So we approach that. Each of our security engineers is partnered with a product. Now, we don't cover every product as much as we would like, because we need to hire more security engineers. We need to think creatively how we can do it. We run a very comprehensive threat model so we can focus where we need to get reviews happening. But we want to have it, so we consider it to be building security in all the things. How do we get it so we can survive with the fact that we don't do the tollgate checkpoint sign-off process? How do we ensure that code, when it's shipping so often with so many teams, you think about inside Atlassian, we're at 800-900 developers. The security team, there's only 20 of us, and not all of us do engineering. We can't cover everything. So we want to have it embedded in our culture for that. Trust. Trust is everything when it comes to security. What customers want to know is, I'm going to give you data. Are you capable of looking after it for me? Can I trust you so inside my company, I'm not going to look bad by selecting you? For those who have been in the industry for a long time, you might always remember was, you'll never go wrong if you buy IBM. That was the kudos for many years, and I think Microsoft tried to then convince everyone you can't go wrong if you buy Microsoft, but that changes all the time. And I think with the industry, the way it's evolved, having openness and transparency around what we're doing, and we want to share our journey, and we want to share a lot more detail into how we're approaching it. Detecting and responding to threats. We run a really big cloud platform when you think about it. We have access to an incredible amount of data. Who uses Atlassian Cloud for their own development, for their own instances? Yeah? Just a couple. Are the rest of you server? So one of the things that I'm thinking about is, how do I help a server customer move to the cloud? What are the questions I need to be able to answer for them so they are comfortable in that decision And they've got the air cover from me and the security team to do that successfully. For vendors in this space, for Connect vendors in this space, you also want air cover from us, so customers, when they're selecting a solution, know that it's being worked on end-to-end from a trust point of view. And the last one, of course, is engage and promote. We're very passionate about security. I personally am very passionate about security. We're doing a lot of work in this space to try and mature the conversation. In Australia, we've just released the cyber security strategy for the next couple of years. We were very fortunate to have some involvement in that. And the other initiative we're doing from an engage and promote point of view is an initiative we call CS Kids, where we've trained so far about 50 Atlassians to go and teach computer science in schools in Sydney. So it's from about fourth year to about 8th year, so was it 9 or 10 through to about 13 years old. So it's using the Google First curriculum, and our teams go out, they spend an hour a week in a class, they run a class for a period, and it helps build this, the importance of technology education in schools. So they said to me, Craig, you can only tell people about 3 things. Wow, 3 things. Can it be 3 things with 27 multi-parts for each of those things? Is that okay? Can I do that? So I've tried to break that down for you a little bit. Let's go through the quick quiz. I didn't really want to call this out. But for you, who's using AWS for their instances for cloud and everything, and Google Engine, and who's using cloud services for their stuff, right? Okay. I hate having to call this out, but I want to call it out because the most common vector for attack is through people. It's not through technology, it's always people. People are the targets. If you read the Verizon DBIR report, the latest one, and I highly recommend it as a read, you will see that all these attacks that occur to organisations are people concerned. And we can address most of this for a few things. Think about doing the basics right. If you're running AWS, make sure the root keys are protected. Make sure you're using multi-factor into your AWS environment or your Azure environment or your Google App Engine environment. It's trivial to set up. It's really not that bad. Make sure that you have protected those keys. Ensure that you're running the accounts appropriately, that your VPC is designed in a way that you know the ingress and egress of data. Step back and have a look at it. You can use tools, some of them commercial. There's a tool called Scout 2, which is on GitHub. It was released by ISEC partners, and it's a really great open source tool for auditing your AWS configuration. Because one of the most common things that people who run AWS configuration is the infamous authenticated user. You all know that if you have in your, particularly your EC2 buckets, that authenticated user can connect to that bucket, that everyone who has an Amazon account, not necessarily in your organisation, can connect to that bucket. You know that, right? So authenticated user in the Amazon world means everyone who's authenticated to AWS. And this has been written up a lot, but a lot of companies get caught by it. So use tools like Scout 2. We use it. We've actually extended it a little bit. We're going to try and put some of that contribution back because we did some automation around it. Surprisingly, we wanted to try and integrate it into Jira so we could then flag issues back to our teams as to how we want to do it. Look at your access management. Do you know who actually has access? And is the access right? Do you actually know if someone leaves your organisation that you did remember to take them out of the system so they can't access stuff anymore? Really common way of things going wrong. And I hate to have to bring up these 101s, but these are the common things that go wrong. Even down to AWS, you build this really great structure, you got all your systems up and running, you've got your deploys happening, you do everything, and you stick it in one availability zone. And then occasionally AWS goes out and your service is out. So have a think about what you need to be doing from an availability point of view. The big one we talk about a lot is code, and how do we test code here at Atlassian? And we do it a couple of ways. First of all, we get involved very early in the conversation. So all the security engineers who work in the Atlassian group are actually developers in their own right. They're not just security guys who can tell you what's wrong but can't tell you how to fix it. They need to be able to contribute into the products themselves, otherwise no one's going to listen to them. So what we thought about is, all right, so how could we do this? So you can do such things, you know, static testing, dynamic testing, all those things that you should do. and there's great commercial solutions for those. Maybe you should run a bug bounty on your solution. And there's great platforms for that, from BugCrowd, HackerOne, there's a few others around that are doing great stuff. We actually do run a private bounty, in case you were wondering, and we're considering what we should do in the future with it, because we want to have many eyes in our products. We actually run a pretty comprehensive way for researchers to report to us, and we get great reports. I'll be honest, we get a couple of reports where we're like, what? You know, we had a good one the other week where the reporter tried to convince me, oh, if you install this file on your server, I'll be able to conduct an XSS attack. Now, I'm not sure if he was just a genius who figured I could get customers to install, people to install this file and I'll be able to control their server, or he just had no idea and was giving it a go. But it did make us take pause for a moment. There's some people here, there's a couple, I was talking to some people last night who have actually reported some stuff to us, and they were very excited because we supplied them with some Atlassian. We talked about what can we give you for a reward, and we gave them some Atlassian pint glasses, beer glasses, and apparently they're being really well used. So if they want another set, they've got to find a better bug. Having those things, having that engagement with people is really important to make your solution more robust. You're not going to find everything. One of the good things about the rapid iteration model, the rapid deployment, is that if we get it wrong, we can quickly fix it and get out the door really quick. That's why I love working in cloud. You now understand when we release critical bugs, which we own that process for, which we do the third Wednesday of the month generally, if we have a critical bug to go out in server. That's a massive logistical exercise for us and for the customers who have to download and install that fix. And it's really tough. We're constantly trying to make it better. That's why we really like cloud stuff, because we can just fix it and move on. We think about inside Atlassian how we can make our developers better. The button is real. It seriously does say what you see on the screen. I'm a bit reluctant to say it out loud because I'm sure they're recording this, and in case my mum hears it, the last thing I want to have to say to her is to say, yes, Mum, I said a naughty word. People will submit code. It'll come through our system. This is a system we built ourselves, and then it comes back to them, and they can confirm it, and then they get a Jira thing and they can fix it, or they can disagree. And if they disagree, we then look at it deeply after that. That's how we scale our engineering team with that sort of thing. This is an engine, we're constantly enhancing it. We do use a commercial product as well, but really as a sanity check. The other thing we do is, if you look on our website, we have an agreement with White Hat, and they run testing continuously against our cloud instances, and we just publish the reports online so people can have a look what we do. Because I get asked all the time, do you do independent security reporting? I was like, yep, sure do. There's the report, download it. No NDA, no nothing. Do it from there. We then measure how our teams go in identifying security. This is a number that the number of bugs that we find in the security team, that's the red line. It's okay when it goes up because we do deep spikes on products. And the number of items that are being repaired in terms of the service level agreement that we have. We have no criticals and no highs. These are all low-ranked issues. So there's just a couple currently sitting outside the SLA. But doing this and having incredible visibility ensures that everybody involved in the cycle knows where we're at from a product health point of view. And you need to have this visibility. The other thing you should be thinking about when running a cloud service is how are you actually going to monitor what's going on? Who actually monitors their cloud service for unexpected events? And I'm not talking about crashes. No one? One? Two? All right, the Atlassians, you don't get to put your hand up because we know you do that. All right. But thanks for your support, the Atlassian team. So I got a few more numbers up, that was great. The role of intelligence in your security for your product is crucial. You need to understand how your application normally works and what a normal connection looks like, and you should be able to identify an anomaly in that space. And you can't monitor everything. So at Atlassian, we've developed a threat model that we then have a series of plays that we use data to substantiate that play. So it's not like we look at all the data for something bad. We specifically look at things that interest us in terms of our threat model. And we're getting really good at this. And what we're doing is we're looking for anomalies. What we're trying to identify is the pattern that tells us that something is wrong. We're now developing an ability to help customers if we see attacks going on against their instances in our cloud, and we've worked with a number of customers where we've helped them identify potential breaches to their organisations. We share information with many other organisations, and I encourage all the Connect developers to form relationships with each other to share security intelligence, indicators of compromise, rogue things, and also misery loves company, so it's always good to talk to a couple of other people in the security space from there. I started out talking about trust. Building trust for your customers in your cloud instance is crucial to your success because people want to feel good that they've made the right decision in using your solution. Then they're not only selecting you, particularly if there's competing solutions on what you say, but how they feel that your solution is going to help them solve their goals and how they're going to not have to do a please explain. I really encourage you to build something like our Trust Centre. This has just gone live. It's trust.atlassian.com. I really encourage you to do that so you can share the information directly with your customers around what you're doing in each of these areas. We've put some really crucial information up here. We've done our first ever government transparency report. You know, when the government asks you for data and shutting down users and everything, we publish that. It's just there for people to look at. We want it to be available for people. We're publishing our white hat security reports. We're publishing, for those who need to run an information security management system, if you're running in a ISO 27001 world, you need to have all these things. We're actually publishing all our stuff up there so you can see exactly how we do it. And for our partners, please use it as inspiration to help you in your own programs. Having these things in place, and if you start now and start early without slowing down your development, will make life easy for you because retrofitting security never works. All right? It's only taken us 25 years in the security world to figure that out. So the really important thing in our world is getting involved early. And the last thing we want to do is slow down development. So you've got to have a very pragmatic view of the world as to where your real threats are. So everything ties together. You need to understand the threats that you're up against. You need to understand where this data would be to help you identify a threat to your organisation. You need to understand what your customers want from you, where the trust comes into it from there. We're evolving this to provide everything. We have information internally. We have an internal trust centre. Our goal is to end that internally, and everything that's on the internal trust centre is available externally. So people don't have to open a support ticket to get an answer to their question. One big thing we did, and we announced this just a little while ago, is that Atlassian's now a corporate member of the Cloud Security Alliance, cloudsecurityalliance.org. There's so many industry standards, and I'm sure we could go outside and have a game of buzzword bingo as to who has to comply with the most industry standards. So ISO 27001, 002, 17, 18, ISO 9001, SOC 2, SOX, FedRAMP, they're probably, HIPAA, but I worked in healthcare, as you know, for many years. I do try to forget about HIPAA. If anybody's ever worked in the health field, HIPAA just still makes me cry. Cloud Security Alliance for us, we see it as a very pragmatic way of demonstrating where we're at. We've just completed our first registry report. Let's go back one, that went a little bit too far. We had to answer 300 questions, and unlike everyone else in this registry, and we've gone through and checked them all, so maybe there's one that we've missed, we have answered every question with an explanation, and it's up there available for people to pull down. So we're looking at how we can help you to do that. The tip I would give you is really think carefully about the date you publish this stuff. All right. Oops, we didn't think about it. Can I give you the true story why I got published on April the 1st? That is actually my birthday. I am born on April the 1st. All right. This was my birthday present because the team are too tight to buy me a card. All right. So we published it on April the 1st because we said we would and we did. But yeah, it was afterwards we looked at it and went, oh, we really haven't thought that through. So, but at least we'll remember it. And we'll be updating this fairly regularly. Hopefully you'll never get another April the 1st date with those things. So what we're trying to get to for the Connect partners, and I know Jamie spoke about this, the people who were in Jamie's session, around what we're doing with a few of these things. I call it kind of compliance. I hate compliance. Hate it. Hate it with a passion. If someone says to me, you have to fill in form 57B, I shake. And this is 30 plus years in the corporate world, in finance and health. I was always filling in forms. But what we're trying to do is start very lean with our current 13 questions. We're working with the Cloud Security Alliance to create a light version of the Cloud Security Alliance questionnaire, so your work is not wasted. You can just continue to build on that. And that's looking around the kind of 60 to 70 question mark. And what we want to do with that is encourage you to do that and make it available for your customers like we have with ours. And we'd love for more and more of our cloud partners to actually look at the full Cloud Security Alliance questionnaire. I know it sounds spooky that it's 300 questions, but feel free to look at ours and you'll be surprised how many of those you can get through really quickly. The other thing that we found quite good was it gave us an incredible way to check where we are. The reason we liked it, it was very pragmatic and it's built by the industry. So that's why we became a corporate member, because we want to contribute back into shaping what the industry should be thinking about when it comes to compliance. So it's very practical. There's some really great tips in there, but like all compliance type documents, there's a couple of questions in there where we just went, no, we're not going to do that. And you need to be able to look at and understand that. So as we get further into our CSA Lite, I'll be posting stuff through a couple of the places, and I would love to gather your feedback on how that looks for you and where we can help you in that space. Security's tough. Let's face it, most security people, there's generally only one day that everybody in the company knows your name, and it's not because of anything good. There's always that one day. What you want to do is figure out what that one day looks like for you. Running a cloud service for many of you is new. We have had, some of you may remember last year we had the HipChat, we had an issue in HipChat, and we had to publicise a lot of the things that happened with that. It was a terrible time for us, and we worked through. But what we did afterwards was we step back and go, all right, what did we do really well, and where could we improve? So a couple of the key takeaways I want you to think about, and I work with a lot of startups in Australia, and I discuss that with them all the time. Do you actually have a plan for if something goes wrong? Do you have pre-written communication if something goes wrong? Have you thought about what could happen and who is accountable for doing what? Now, we've obviously gone really deep on this to the point of we have pre-built communications for various types of issues that could occur. We're ready to go because we want to hit it hard and running. Because these events that could occur could be a company-ending event for you. So preparation will make it easy for you to survive. We wargame it, we test it, we drink beer and argue about scenarios, we share information with other organisations, cloud organisations, about the threats that they're seeing, and then we revise our plans constantly so we're ready in case the worst happens. And because we're now monitoring our cloud so much with our customers, this is really starting to pay off, because as we're identifying issues in our cloud for our customers, we've got the communications, we've got the workflow, we've got the whole process pre-built, and it's very much just a product offering for us now. So we can engage with the customer, help them through what we've found, and move on. And then go back, review it, enhance it, go again. Security means that sometimes you're going to have a bad day. You need to embrace it and be ready for it, because that's how you're sure that you'll be there the very next day. That emphasises the trust that your customers will put in you to make that happen. So a couple of things. We know from research that security and security requirements are a base expectation from our customers. Depending on where they are in the segment, it's always in the top 5. Some segments it's the third or the second, others I do know some where it's actually number 1. So it's always going to be there. You can't ignore it. But you don't have to be frightened by it. You just need to start. You need to plan for these things. You need to make sure that you have these basics right. Don't get breached because Barry on the dev team thought that his password of Mustang was the right password to use. All right? We actually have a password cracker at Atlassian, so we actually try and break our own staff's passwords. because that's how we try and figure it out. Be ready to iterate and ship if you make a mistake, because if you're not going to check it on the way through, you might make a mistake. You've got to be ready to go quickly and deploy again as quickly as possible in case something's gone wrong. Talk to everyone, engage with your customers. Perhaps if you don't have it already, create the security address. Create a way for customers to tell you about things they've found. Consider engaging with the security research community. Be prepared when you engage for the security research community that you have really strict rules on who gets a prize and who goes on the Hall of Fame. Here's a tip, don't list everyone on the Hall of Fame. Okay, you only get on the Atlassian Hall of Fame if you find a critical bug or a high in terms of CVSS rankings. No one just goes on it. But we still get great reports. But we do get a number of reports that are started with, I am an independent security researcher. That's usually a sign that the next bit's kind of going to be interesting. But we do get great reports, but the signal to noise ratio can be quite high. Hence, partnering with one of these security, these bug bounty firms is a really good idea for smaller organisations because you can consume a lot of time. And most importantly, ensure that you have the trust with your customers because they will buy based on that. So think about those things. Plan, engage, build trust. Now, I know I've spoken about a lot of things today. The information that I'm talking about is on our trust site, trust.atlassian.com. I'll be around a bit later on. Come and grab me. I'll be certainly around after Ship It Live. So if you've got any questions, please come and talk to me. And thanks for making the time to come and see me this afternoon.